I think most of us have watched the devastation in Haiti with horror, and of course, up close, it's been even worse. A senior firefighter from Essex has just returned home after helping with the rescue operation.
Terry Webb was coordinating the EU and UN aid response. He says the conditions he witnessed were dire. Tomorrow, more aid is due to be flown out of Stansted.
2.5 weeks since the earthquake struck, and the suffering in Haiti continues. Suffering witnessed at first hand by Terry Webb. An expert in earthquake rescues, he was one of the first to reach Liugan, close to the earthquake's epicentre. He found almost complete devastation.
Well, our initial estimates put it down to 80–90%, and it was considerable. The fact that it was outside the main area of Port-au-Prince and no one had been able to get out, it was important that we relay that information back, but it was completely devastated in effect.
His task, to identify where search teams should be deployed. One field hospital handled 200 admissions and 30 amputations in a day, but there were moments of hope too.
There was a woman that came in who was heavily pregnant. There'd been no fetal movement in the last 24 hours, and the medical team was expecting the worst, but fortunately that day a bouncing baby boy was born.
These tents are provided by the UK charity Shelterbox. Tomorrow a further 1,800 boxes of aid will leave Stansted.
We've got 10 individuals on the ground at the minute. There's obviously people are needing shelter, get themselves into shelter, get themselves out of the elements, and that's what Shelterbox provides.
For Terry Webb, the past fortnight has been a humbling experience, one which has left a lasting impression.
You know, we always look at what we don't have and what we want, and I look at what they actually don't have: a running tap, electric lights, and I look at certain people when I come back, and when people moan and complain about certain stuff, I just grin internally and think, if only you'd live somewhere else.
Richard Daniel, BBC Look East.
Now, we hear a lot these days about making sure that we get enough exercise, especially young people. But tonight, Look East can reveal that 25% of our secondary schools don't have a satisfactory gym.
All pupils are supposed to get at least 2 hours of PE a week, but research shows that almost a third don't, and many of those that do are using facilities from decades ago.
Welcome to the 1950s and a typical PE lesson in a post-war school gymnasium. 50 years later, it hasn't moved on at all and is well out of step with the modern curriculum. And it's not alone. We've discovered that around a quarter of secondary schools in our region have a sports hall that fails to meet recommended standards.
We're very limited on space here because the school was only built for a certain number of pupils, and we're over double that now.
I think if we had a sports hall and maybe a larger area, then I think it would be able to give us more variety.
Around £2 million is needed for a new sports hall at Acle High School, but it's light years away from getting the funding for that.
It seems to me shameful that we're investing billions of pounds in the Olympic Games, which I'm a huge supporter of, but not making proper provision for our own young people to thrive, succeed and to lead healthy lives.
Government figures show that there has been some improvement, with the number of pupils getting the required 2 hours of PE a week increasing from 25% in 2002 to 90% last year. But in our region, only around 70% of secondary pupils are doing 2 hours of PE a week. Norfolk County Council says it's invested £200 million in school facilities in recent years. It says, "We hope the government will provide additional investment in the future to help support the development of sport and PE provision in the county's schools." By 2011, £2.4 billion will have been invested in school sport. Now the question is whether funding will continue after the Olympics, and will it ever trickle down to high schools like this? Chris Bond, BBC Look East, Acle.
And you can see more on that story in the Politics Show on BBC One on Sunday at 12 o'clock. It's a 2012 special coming from Hadley Castle in Essex, the site of the Olympic mountain biking event.
And we stay with 2012. It's time to meet our final one to watch. We first met William Sharman 6 years ago. Then his dream was to take part in the decathlon at the Olympic Games. Now he's the #1 hurdler in Britain, over 110 metres.
He's the Corby character with Olympic ambition. This was William Sharman 7 years ago. Already a prodigious talent, now he's stepping out of the shadows.
the hours that I put in here are only realised once I cross the finish line. When I'm on the start line, I'm completely relaxed. I'm just behind my desk in the office, just about to do a bit of work. I'm at ease because I've rehearsed it so many times.
From cold evenings in Corby, William now trains here at Loughborough, the home of the country's best athletes. But in recent weeks, he's had to jump hurdles of a different kind.
Yeah, I had a nasty fall 2 weeks ago here at my training centre in Loughborough. And it's put me in this cast. I've broken 2 bones in my wrist and I dislocated it as well. It means that I have to completely write off the indoor season. However, that's not anywhere near as important as an outdoor season is to an athlete. That's where the real championships are. So I've had to sacrifice everything over the next 2 months.
Will, you're one of our 5 ones to watch with London 2012 very much in mind. Are you beginning to feel the sense of possibility competing in your home country?
Yeah, definitely. Every day I train, it's geared towards peaking in London 2012, in the final, right in there, bringing back the gold. And that's what I aspire towards. That's what I get out of bed for every day. So stay tuned.
I like him.
I know, what
He's
confidence.
cool, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely one to watch there. Now, this man's been running the working men's clubs of Bedfordshire, Buckinghamshire and Northamptonshire for 60 years. But today, Derek Dormer cleared his desk for the last time.
Of course, there was a time when membership of the clubs could be measured in millions. Now the glory days are long gone, but Derek has a hatful of memories and some thoughts about the future.
6 decades behind this desk. As branch secretary, Derek Dormer's responsible for 80 local working men's clubs. For 20 years, he was the national president. But now, aged 84, it's time to retire.
I have had countless hours of wonderful joy, pleasure, excitement, comradeship. It's a refuge for me. And I feel proud that I can go in any one of the thousands of workmen's clubs in Britain and somebody will know me. You never can really feel terribly alone.
In its heyday, this branch of working men's clubs had 100,000 members, all enjoying social events with their families. Now numbers have dwindled to 40,000. Replacing Derek is the first woman branch secretary, only made possible since the rules changed 3 years ago. She knows the job will be hard.
We've lost a third of clubs, which is not just this area, it's all over the country. So really, to try and stabilise the clubs we have got and recruit new clubs. So, yes, it's a challenge.
Lunchtime at this working men's club in Rushden. Derek says he's seen a lot of changes over the years. He's not convinced modern technology is always a good thing.
People tend to be satisfied with just sitting around a television and a laptop, and people are going to have to start to live their lives and join forces with their friends and their neighbours, like they used to do. When people were poor, they were a lot better off.
Derek's hoping he'll now be better off with more spare time. Today was his last in the office, spent tidying up loose ends. But although it's the end of a 60-year era, his portrait remains, and that means he'll be remembered long after he's gone. Faye Southwell, BBC Look East, Rushden.
I'm sure he will.
Enjoy your retirement, Derek. Very, very chilly today.
I know, it's not my fault, honest, but it is going to stay cold, and it's going to stay cold for quite some time. Some parts of the region have had snow showers today. This is on the A47, just west of Durham, and you can see, although it melted on the roads, it certainly settled on the grass. And we're going to find further showers running down the North Sea coast and heading in across the east of our region to begin with, but later tonight I think we'll find some of them moving inland as well. So, for this evening and overnight, it really is a cold, wintry story. A widespread frost setting in now, 1 or 2 snow showers for a time just in the northeast of the region, and then gradually extending inland, and that's after you've had a bit of frost on the ground as well. So the roads will be icy, there'll be snow on the top, temperatures down to -3, all looks like a slippery wintry night to me. -2, -3 in the west, a little bit higher than that towards the coast. There will incidentally towards the coast up here in North Norfolk be some very strong gusty winds for a time this evening, quite blustery conditions with those snow showers, almost blizzard-like really. And then tomorrow, left with a northerly
breeze, still cold, still snow showers running down onto the coast, but I think some bright weather in between. The winds should have eased by then. The snow showers continuing to move westwards across the region. Some sunny spells, but just 1 or 2 showers even by the end of the day, but not as heavy as today's. Frost returning in the evening, and all in all, temperatures struggling to get much higher than +2. Then, for the next few days, low pressure to the east means the risk of further showers just on the coastal part of the region. Inland, it's going to be dry and bright with some sunshine, but frosty mornings and nights. And then on Tuesday, this front could bring some rain, maybe even preceded by some sleet or snow for a time in the early part of Tuesday morning. And once this front goes through, then we're going to see the winds becoming more northwest or even westerly again, and not quite such cold air to deal with. But I certainly don't see anything very warm coming along anytime soon. So here we have a selection